The new departure was a concept of Parnell, Michael Davitt, my father. Bear in mind, Michael Davitt had been a Fenian.
Yes.
Parnell came of an old ascendancy family. My father was the son of a young Ireland rebel who had been sentenced to death and who had fled to America. But they came to the conclusion, after the failure of the Fenian uprising in 1867, that physical force wasn't going to achieve the objectives that Irish nationalism had in view. And I often remember Father describing to me how they went to meetings to suggest to the people that there was another way, constitutional agitation, that it might take time, but that it could be made to succeed without the shedding of blood or the loss of life or the dangers which we have learned by bitter experience can flow from a resort to physical force. And at these meetings, there would be the main body of their supporters, but standing at some distance away, there would be a small group of men, some old, mostly young, and the success or failure of the meeting depended how many of that small group would come and join the main body of the meeting and indicate that they had given up their Fenian methods and were now prepared to join with the Parnellite Party in the new departure. And the new departure was, let's give up the gun and use parliamentary methods to achieve our end. The leaders of the new departure were convinced that the Fenians and all conspiratorial physical force movements of that kind were so subject to infiltration by spies and traitors that they nearly always ended in bloodshed and betrayal. And so Parnell's strategy was to go to the House of Commons in London and say to them, we don't want you to govern Ireland at all. We want you to hand over the government of Ireland to an Irish Parliament. And if you are not prepared to do that, we are going to demonstrate to you here in the House of Commons that we won't let you govern Ireland, and we won't let you govern England, because by a policy of obstruction, we'll break up the whole procedures of the British House of Commons. And that's precisely what he did by exploiting old Joe Biggar's policy of obstruction. Now, Father and David believed that an essential prerequisite to a successful campaign for Irish Home Rule, as we then called it, Irish independence, as we call it now, was that the mass of the people should be given security on their holdings.
The land.
The land. They always believed that so long as the landlords had at their disposal the immensely powerful instrument of eviction, that you could never effectively organize the people to fight for freedom, because eviction was a horror that people of this generation don't understand. They don't realize what it meant in the 70s of the last century